There were 2 herds of mothers, which totaled about 200, and kidding season was split up between November and February, and they can have anywhere from 1 to 3, sometimes 4 kids. So come March, you're talking something around 350, 400 goats. They have a lot of personality, and they're cool critters. So there are a few goats that had mycoplasma, a disease that's inherited through milk, and it causes the kids' joints to swell up and eventually they'll die. Any kid that nurses from an infected mother will eventually come down with the disease. So these kids are taken away from their moms right away. And one of my favorite goats named Spinstable, she had 1 horn coming out of the side of her head. And Spinstable translates roughly to, "What, are you crazy?" I had to take her 2 kids away from her right when they were born, which is a really traumatic thing for any mother, even goats. And the very next day, this intern was trying to herd the girls out to pasture. And I was just walking a horse out, and Spinstable saw me and just beelined straight towards me. She left the herd, she wouldn't respond to the dogs, nothing, and she stood at my feet and just cried for her kids. And it was just a heart-wrenching moment. I mean, she really was heartbroken. You don't think that they have that depth of thought or recollection, but they absolutely do. We had a bad fight between Teddy and Bobby, and all the goats had been debutted as kids, where it sounds awful, but you take a soldering iron to their horns and kill off their horns so that you can actually handle them. Well, the males have really deep root systems in their horns, and so they will develop just little kind of twirly nubs at the top of their heads. And apparently, the same intern, he had a rough time, I guess, was taking the girls out with Bobby, and Teddy started going at him through the fence. And the dogs didn't want to have anything to do with it, you know, and it's pretty scary stuff when billy goats are butting heads. And they got tangled and tore each other's buds off. Pretty rough situation. So they might seem fine. I mean, they were in pasture when it wasn't mating season, but as soon as mating season rolls around, they're not interested in any competition. My first day, I go to take these horses out to pasture, and I'd never dealt with goats in pastures before. And I didn't know that everybody on the farm was standing on the hill just watching and waiting to see what happened. And I go to bring this horse into pasture, and both of the billies are really excited. It was Bobby and Teddy in pasture together. They were perfect friends at the time. And I open the gate, and sure enough, both of them charge out. Now, this wasn't mating season, but Bobby's kind of a romancer, I guess you could call him. And goats, when they're interested in whoever it is, pee on their faces and then spit at you. It's their way of asking you out, you know? It's their version of buying you a cocktail. But it's disgusting.
They pee on their own faces?
Yeah, it's amazing to watch. I mean, it's pretty remarkable physics, but it's pretty disgusting at the same time. And then they do this lip-flapping, spitting kind of right in your face. So Bobby did that to me, and then he tried to mount me. And I had this horse in my hands, you know, and meanwhile, everybody from the farm is standing on the hill laughing at me, you know. That was my initiation. Sometimes it might be a power thing, but, you know, I like to think he thought I was cute.